most people that are going to join. It's quite a nice crowd, actually. Very excited to be here with you today. We got a lot going on in research. We got a good lineup, and we're going to be having an excellent series of technical committee meetings. So we're just looking to, in a way, promote that and make sure that everybody is getting all of the things that they need to kick themselves off into a great series of research meetings. And so as we get started here in our PRCI tradition, I'd like to call on Tom to kick us off with a safety moment.
Okay, thanks, Alex. So it's springtime, and there's a digging that occurs when it gets into the springtime. So just a reminder for the call before you dig. And to always contact 811 and, in the at least the required time in advance. Typically it's 48 hours. And also as a reminder that those locates expire after a certain timeline. So if your construction is advancing beyond a certain number of days, you need to renew those. Don't rely on memory of old markings, because there could have been something newly installed, or some of the old markings could have been off a little bit. And then, talk with the excavators or those that are working with the machinery to verify that the markings on site and help them understand what they're for. And then use the safe digging practices as far as the tolerance zones. And vacuum excavate or hand dig when you're getting close. And then if the markings are unclear, or they get washed away with heavy rains or other things, basically stop and get a remark made. And then in the event of a strike or suspected damage, basically stop work immediately and notify the appropriate parties. So, along with this message, I was taking a walk in the neighborhood a couple of days ago and noticed a gentleman that was hand digging some post holes, installing a fence. There was no markings. Literally within 10 feet of where he was digging was a pad mount transformer. So we had a conversation. So I shared with him the importance of making sure that he called the right number and made sure that he knew where things were, so that he didn't cause himself harm or other or damage to the assets in the ground. So that's the safety message. So thank you.
Awesome, Tom. Really good. Before we go, does anyone on the call want to share any sort of call before you dig stories? Sometimes these safety messages inspire folks, and they want to add, this one time this thing happened. I'll pause for a second if anyone wants to do this while I contemplate all the times that I have been around and something not so great has happened because there was a strike, which is the worst.
Share a note of caution that even though it's marked, sometimes the markings aren't correct. So I had the telephone company mark telephone lines because I was putting in underground electrical service at my sister's house, and they marked the line, and we proceeded to trench because we were going in a different direction. And lo and behold, my sister came out and said, "Hey, my phone stopped working." So telephone company had marked the wrong line. So just because it's marked, just a note of caution that what they marked may not include everything, or may just be incorrect.
Great. Thanks, Richard. Any other follow-on comments? Okay. Well, we appreciate your attention to safety, safety first, as they say, so that we can always be coming home at night. So just a reminder here, as always, antitrust compliance is a priority. You must avoid discussions about prices, other things. If you want to read our policy, please, by all means, do. And you want to avoid anything that might be antitrust in any PRCI meetings. And for a reminder, for those of you that are, members of PRCI, which would include all of you, it's PRCI. We are a globally recognized, research organization. We're all about a member-driven approach to research, and we're trying to leverage research to advance technology and safety. So thank you, all of you members. We really appreciate you. Wherever you are in the world, we're all working together. There's always problems that we can solve together, and together we are better. And so there are also, I'll remind you, leadership opportunities in the PRCI infrastructure. If you're a member of a technical committee, you can become team leaders for projects. You can become voting members. You can become vice chairs of technical committees, chairs, and you can also get involved in strategic research priorities, those groups of projects, those incredibly important activities that PRCI research apparatus undertakes. You can be a part of that steering committee. You can also think and consider activities if you get really into PRCI related to governance, such as the Executive Assembly. You might then be appointed to the executive board, and you might have a leadership role there, and that goes both ways. So I would encourage you, and I would encourage you to encourage your staff to get involved at PRCI, to be involved in projects. Networking on projects is one of the best ways to get up to speed on the latest research, to get to know people who are in the field doing the same things as you, and to find your partners in collaboration that will last through your whole career. This is something in particular I think that is a really important value of the PRCI research apparatus. And so I would just encourage you to get involved and get people at your company involved in PRCI research, because as far as we're concerned, there's only upside. Gary, did you want to add anything? Tom, did you want to add anything on leadership opportunities? Are there places where you'd like to see people thinking about getting involved as of late?
I'll jump in. I mean, and I'm taking off my PRCI hat and putting on my old PRCI member hat. If you're new to PRCI, jumping in on a project team as a active participant, even if just as an information member, is a huge knowledge gain, especially if there's a subject matter that you're interested in, because there's all these other bright people you'll be working with. You'll absorb a lot of information, and eventually stepping up as a project team leader will help enhance your skills for project management and leadership roles. As well as it'll give you the ability to personally drive where you would like to see the research to go.
Excellent. Tom, your thoughts. Where are you looking for people to get involved? Any thoughts there?
Just project teams in general, where you want to learn, where you have subject matter to add or questions to pose that would spur others to think of things that they may not, based on your questions. So there are no bad questions. So jump in and be involved.
Yes, awesome. Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit about this thing we've been oops. All right. I will jump into this thing we call the data initiative and some of the AI work here that we're doing at PRCI. It's a very exciting future. You know, the PRCI board has asked us to conduct this data initiative, which is, you know, going to become a data institute. And you might ask, you know, what are we doing? What's our goal here? This is all about focusing on the way that we collaborate as members to collect and analyze data for the benefit of pipeline safety, integrity, and to direct research. And so it's an organizational function that's going to help us consolidate all our different data-related objectives, build towards better models, which will build better results, but also give us better decision-making capabilities and lower cost. I've seen it happen. I know it can happen. I know we can do it. It'll let us consolidate some of our data sets so we can scale the value of AI. All of you have initiatives at your companies to test or use AI in various ways. We have incredible data sets, and we can be working together to enable lower cost research in the long run, but also higher value AI output products, whether it's just the kind of precursor stuff, machine learning, whether it's tools that can be plugged into or other things. You know, we're going to make methods for people to share and to help others understand, you know, what it is that it's going to take to get us to that next level of safety. And our vision is to try and move from a more siloed data approach to a more advanced kind of collection and application of structured and unstructured data as a part of our research function, and ultimately the development of a better analytical models. This is something that Shahani, who many of you know, is going to be taking lead of. It's going to be really critical to help us advance the most useful analytical models to whether it's detecting cracks, things that come out of research, or corrosion, and making sure that they can become more easily used or have some value for the next research project. And so it's going to support the research technical organization. It's going to enable data collaboration. We're pretty excited about it, and that's why we're telling you about it here, because we think it represents an unlocking of significant value for us. But it's something that we want you to think about as you're building projects and scoping projects. It's things above your standard research paper, but below, at least at this time, below a full software. So, you know, if you're making a data set because that data set is useful, we're going to do it through this structure now, but it's going to make your life easier and better. We'll be able to control access and all that. We even went over to talk with PHMSA about this. We met with the PHMSA administrator. We talked about the data initiative, and they were very excited. They think that, you know, they love it when industry is out advancing research. We educate on research. We're not an advocacy organization, so we educate on research, but you know, there's a lot of value globally, and not just at PHMSA with the CER, with others that we work with to try and enable data to advance safety. And so we can do that ourselves, and we can also use data to advance AI. And so, Gary, I'd like to call on you to talk a little bit about these projects, if you would, please.
Yeah, so we have two active AI projects related to AI. The first one I'm going to talk about is this measurement 2-01A. This is a follow-on to a PHMSA project with the intent. There were a lot of equations developed out of that PHMSA project. So how do you actually make them easy and usable? And one way to do that is to embed them in a library that can be readily called from Excel. And so we started down that path. We started that particular project 2 weeks ago. And related to like what Alex described with the data initiative, I let the AI tool run a little bit wild in that, you know, I gave the tool access to data sets that were gathered under PRCI research projects, one that was done in the 1960s, and asked it to come up with an alternate way to model hydraulic transient pipeline systems, gas only. And it not only produced a method the method works better than the partial differential equation methods that are commonly used today, in my opinion. They calculate faster and they produce better matchup to the actual test data than the commercial models do. And that was simply done by me, saying, here's the data source, here's the concepts, evaluate this. And in the process, the AI tools, collectively, collaboratively with me, developed a hybrid approach that was better than what I came up with on my own, and just built it into the system. So that one project, we went from a couple dozen user-defined functions a week ago to now we have 128 functions built into the system, not all of them measurement related. We did that in 14 days. There's over 32,000 lines of actual code in that implementation. Some of that code runs more than 200 times faster than the benchmark that it was comparing against. And it's just every bit of that code that we did, we had independent verification that could reproduce the source answers within 16 digits of precision. So yeah, interesting and lots of opportunity, not only on the measurement side, but across all the technical committees to actually use AI to go back and pull all of our research and say what is usable and valuable and how do we make that so it's easier for the pipeline industry to actually use those tools. So that's kind of part one. The part two is this white paper study. This is a broader, more generic question about, what's the process, the tools, the boundaries of where we will or won't allow AI into PRCI's research. And again, a lot of lessons learned out of the measurement 2-01A work that can be brought across into this white paper study. The opportunity is higher quality work, getting that work done faster, having it more reliable and consistent, even looking at alternate ways to transfer the knowledge, add-ins for Excel being one, but actually developing dynamic webinars, and not only webinars that are script generated based on the research, but allow you as the user to say, I want to ask my own question to this webinar, and it will have the proper appropriate context to answer those individual questions based on the actual research. And those webinars can be specifically targeted at different roles within the company. So an entry-level engineer versus a SME engineer versus an executive in the company. What would they care about and want to know, and without wasting their time. All those types of things are possible. So it's really going to be a sandbox and a playground. That project will be executed under the Research Steering Committee. And so anybody, you don't have to be limited to the Research Steering Committee. If you're interested in AI and how it would potentially apply to PRCI research and as an extension within your own company, we would encourage and welcome that you join the team for that particular project.
Thanks, Gary. Very exciting stuff, folks. You have the QR codes there if you want to scan real quick, or you'll get this presentation, the recording, and they'll have a link. All right. So just want to provide some reminders on upcoming meetings so you can, if you're involved, book it on your calendar or make sure that you make space and time. We have an executive assembly meeting. There's the IPCE. We'll see you there. PRCI is a sponsor, so we're excited about this one. There's the TDC open house. We have an 8-acre testing facility in Houston, Texas. Please, if you're not already using it or haven't explored it, you got to reach out to our TDC director, Lance. He is more than willing to talk to you about different kinds of projects and needs you might have. The fall technical committee meetings, looking forward to seeing you in Calgary in October. And Shahani will talk about this. We've got our Rex scheduled for next year in Houston, Texas, at the end of March there, and the JTM in early May in Australia. So that'll be a good time. Just a little update. We're doing some work on our website. There's a little bit of near-term impact associated with that, but we think a lot of advantage to redoing some of this stuff. We'll have a new research library storefront, which will make it, you can access things with Professor Percy. You'll be able to access things in the Data Institute and with other AI tools. But, if you want to grab things in a more traditional storefront fashion, we'll have a nicely upgraded, enhanced area that'll help. And you'll be able to direct people to, especially internally. It'll make it easier to find, webinars and research roadmaps and other things that, we want to make super clear, and we want to make it so that either you can share or in some cases so the public can see. It's about making things streamlined, easier to find, and it preserves all the essential research functions that you know and love. So we're excited about that. We've been doing some testing. People are finding it to be really nice. There are a few interim impacts that I'll talk about. It may be that accessing Prime is a little more challenging if you want to add a new person. I think my advice here is just email your favorite PM or email membership@prci.org if you're having any kind of access problem, and we'll just take care of it. And with that, I've got a couple of research updates here. One is just a big welcome to Mike Bennett. He's our Senior Program Manager of Integrity and Inspection. He's got a ton of experience, and we're really excited to have him working closely with the technical committee. I also want to, announce that Tom Marlowe is our Interim Executive Director of Research, and Gary is taking on a strategic role for PRCI in terms of innovation. You heard him talk about AI and technology. I feel that this is going to be a really good way for PRCI to advance its use of AI and identify key technologies that might help us in terms of our research mission. So we're very excited here. Congratulations everybody on your roles. Just really quickly, some newly funded projects, just some counts here by committee. I think this is all good stuff. Pay attention. Tom sends out those notes, making sure that you're looking at funded projects and projects to be funded and stuff that's on your roadmap. This is all good, but I'm not really the ultimate person to be talking about this. I really want to hear from Jen about how the RSC is looking at things. So if you would please, Jen, are you able to share your slides?
Yeah, I can share our slides for sure. Cool, thanks, Alex. Those are exciting highlights and updates. And congratulations to Mike, Tom, and Gary. That's awesome. We're excited to see, Gary, what you come up with. Okay, 1 second. Can I share the right screen? Can you guys see that? I guess that's not in presentation mode. Hold on. Sorry. Oh, that's better. Alex, you good? You see that there?
Yes, thank you.
Perfect. Okay. Well, hi, everybody. On behalf of the ROC, we're excited to kick off the spring plenary technical committee meetings. Today we've got, some of you have seen these slides before, but we wanted to share them with a broader group. We gave you a sneak peek 2 weeks ago, but we've got Simon to talk about industry adoption and inclusion. Shahani's going to do a refresh on the incident trends and data, just an update. I'll just remind everybody quickly about expectations about setting up ourselves for success for 2027 with the roadmaps. And then John Studi's going to talk about SRPs and just remind everyone about the deadlines and the benefits of those. And then Alex, I thought I'd just pop in here because we've got a deadline really quick on the PHMSA research ideas. And then Gary's already given his slides, so we don't need to go through that. All right, over to Simon.
Thanks, Jen. I'll put the camera on.
Thanks.
Okay, morning, afternoon, everyone. So we've been working in the RSC on this topic, industry adoption and inclusion tracking. It's relatively straightforward, really. What we intend to do is we've got 3 different initiatives. The first one is some expectations for vendor reporting, and what we've really identified is the need to include a new expectation, if you like, in the reporting template that we have for PRCI reports. And it'll include a table, and that table is called the implementation plan. And it has 3 parts to it, if you like. It has areas, knowledge base, procedures and manuals, or codes and standards. None of this is finalized, but this is the intent. And in there, the contractor is responsible for filling in, if you like, a summary that's come from the research that says, for knowledge base, how does it increase the knowledge base? What do we need to take away as the key learning points? How does it contribute to continuous improvement? What evidence exists for change or development of new approaches? And how can the work be used to clarify interpretation or regulations of codes and standards? So it's not that contractors have to answer all of those questions, but they are the questions that they should be asking themselves as they continue through the work and have that as the aim when they come up with the deliverables at the end. The next one is procedures and manuals. So what exactly can we introduce into procedures and operating manuals to improve safety and efficiency, and what is required to get there? So really have some content in there of how operators can use the research within their integrity management plans, within their procedures, etc. What guidance can the researchers give to how it is implemented? And then the final part is codes and standards. What standards need to consider this work, and what updates are required? What does the regulator need to be aware of, and what are the next steps? So the idea here is this table is used in the template to really stimulate the thought process during the research, to really understand how the research is used and implemented. And one of the key factors about this is that table kind of wants to flow from the RFP, from the idea to the RFP to the proposal to the final deliverable. So when we come up with an idea, we want to be thinking about these things when we come up with an idea. When it goes to the RFP is developed. We need to make sure that the RFP goes out, reminding people that when they submit a proposal, it needs to consider these things in terms of implementation. And then obviously in the final report, it's a requirement of reports. This approach has always been there. I think this is just a way to make it a little bit more structured and a little bit more upfront, if you like, in terms of making sure that the research can be effectively implemented and communicated. So that's the first thing. In line with that, our intent is to send out a survey. It's a very short survey. It's going to be very concise, not many questions at all, but it's all about from your own experience, how easy has it been to implement the research? How can we implement the research, and what are the barriers to implementing the research? So I could share my screen, might be helpful, just to show. Let me just open it up, just so you can see the kind of thing we've got at the moment. If I share this screen, so you should all be able to see it now. But you can see it's only literally 3 pages, and it's all put in the format of a scale of 1 to 3. For example, on a scale of 1 to 3, what areas of your business have PRCI deliverable been successfully implemented? And then here it says, what are the barriers to implementation, and what would help your organization implement the research? So it's really just a small survey that hopefully we can fill in fairly quickly, just to get a feel for where implementation has been most effective, what the barriers are, and what PRCI can do and the RSC can do to help make it more effective in terms of implementing the research. So that's the second initiative that we've put forward. And the third one is a relatively simple one. Go back to your presentation, Jen.
Yeah. One sec. Sorry, it crashed on me.
Oh, right.
This one?
Okay.
Yeah.
The final one is we obviously have got interaction with many other industry groups, things like ASME codes, things like API codes. We've got AGA, SGA, FIMS as a regulator, obviously, INGA. So we've got all these other organizations that we can feed into, and they can feed into us. And the idea was trying to establish for each of the technical committees how best we can harness those relationships. And so the idea was to look within the technical committees at who the people are who have got existing relationships with some of these organizations. For example, in the DMC committee, I'm part of the ASME DMC group, so I can act as an intermediary between those and share information from the ASME DMC group with the PRCI DMC group and vice versa. So it's really just looking within the technical committees at who do we have that we can leverage that have got relationships with other organizations. And just make a simple list of those, and then we structure how we can interact with them a little bit better. And obviously that will enable us to also identify any gaps. So if we have gaps within technical committees where, it would be really great, for example, if we had a gap, we haven't got a gap, but for example, in the DMC group, if we had a gap with API 1104, the Weldon standard, and we didn't have anyone who was interacting with the API 1104 standard, we have lots of them. So silly example, but that example would be a gap where we need to put someone in there to make sure that we've got that communication path between API 1104 and what we do within the DMC PRCI committee. So that's the final one. And we'll roll out a really simple list. It's there for the technical committees to use, and then we can bring this all together, and hopefully that will give us a good communication plan outside of PRCI of how we can influence other groups and how we can take information from other groups, and maybe that stimulates some more ideas, some more work that we can do within PRCI. So they're the three ideas and initiatives we've got for industry adoption and inclusion. So that's all I had, Jen.
That was great. Thanks, Simon. I appreciate it. So, yeah, keep an eye out for the new template, and the survey will be coming out soon, and then we'll figure out a place to put that roster so we can get those names and industry code standards all mapped out. So for better awareness and a better implementation plan. Now it's over to Shahani, and she has her own slides.
Thanks, Jen. I will share it. Give me one moment. There you go. It should come anytime. Alex already spoke to you about the Data Institute, but this year and last year we've been working towards it, and you have seen some of the data analytics. RSC was also very keen, of course, on understanding the data to know where we should put our research efforts. So we did some preliminary work, and I just wanted to show you why we are doing it. What are the principles that we are going to use to make the data more meaningful for you? So there are three categories that we are going to cover in the Data Institute. First of all, like Alex and Gary presented, we are going to support some of the projects to be able to do data storage, data analytics, use AI on this data and so on, and support the research projects. That's one aspect. And then we also will have advanced data analytics projects that we support and build software on, like the RDO, the research-based decision optimizer, and so on. But the one I'm going to present to you today is an aspect of bringing all the incident data together, helping us, especially you, all of us need to understand what is the performance data actually telling us. And sometimes, as you can see, so I'm going to show you mostly PHMSA data and a few examples just because I need to keep to a reasonable time here. When you put all the data together, it's very hard to see any kind of trend. This is PHMSA data for gas pipelines, transmission, gathering facilities, pipelines, everything together. The categories are have squished in too much information here, and without subdividing, we can't see any trends. So what is really important and what we are trying to enable is for all of us at PRCI to be able to go and see the data in a more meaningful way. So if you subdivide it, it's useful. Another aspect is removing the statistical noise. Now, this is just a quick example again. On the liquid side, if you put all the data together, and take only the right-of-way data here, but if you put it without removing the statistical noise, you get the left-hand side graph. But if you do a 5-year moving average, which is considered best practice in smoothing the data to see the trends, you see a definite trend down in particularly the top corrosion and material failures, which includes cracks. And you can see that their performance is improving. Now I put here on the right-hand bottom, PHMSA's website gives this graph where it gives the volume spill rate, and it's going up and down, they say volume spill rate fluctuates since 2010. However, if you look at the trend line, it is definitely going down. So this is the kind of analysis we want to enable you to do and be able to see the actual trends by removing the statistical noise in different ways. And there are many ways to do it. There's not only one, but we will enable that through the Data Institute. Another aspect here is, as I spoke before, dividing it up into meaningful categories. When you put transmission and gathering together, it doesn't show a downward trend. However, when you separate it out, you see that transmission, the dominant threats are definitely have a downward trend. And in gathering, we see an uptick. But when you investigate further, you realize that that could be a reporting aspect. So we have to know the nuances about the data because reporting changed in recent years. So this is how we are going to enable you to do more meaningful data analytics. These graphs I have just done in Excel, but what we are doing right now is to put it in Fabric, and in the Data Institute, you will be able to have a Power BI tool that does these things, and you can play with the data and understand the trends much better on your own. So another aspect is looking at trends, like if a doctor was to put pancreatic cancer rates and common cold rates together, you can't get meaningful data or all types of diseases. But if you divide up what is more important, ruptures versus leaks, for instance, you get more meaningful trends that help you, because ruptures, of course, are the ones that create more consequences, and therefore you might want to see those trends separated out. So here we are showing you all these different ways of slicing and dicing the data meaningfully to get better information. This is also another example. If you look at facilities within I've taken only the data within the operator control property. If you look at that data, you see that it is highly dominated by equipment failure, but equipment failure is a grab bag of many types of failures, mostly relief valve and venting issues and so on, but it's a very broad category. And so when you look at it, when you smoothen it, you get this kind of trend. it seems equipment failure is not reducing, which is a useful thing to know. When you take leaks and what they call other, which is also unknown, if you take leaks and other out, you see that within the control property, you are not getting too many incidents, but the few we can address more meaningfully when we take out the noise due to smaller, lower consequence aspects. So another example of dividing up the data. This is an example of, because of course we have acknowledged that RLI helps with integrity management a lot. It has really changed our industry. If you look at post-RLI failures, what is it doing? And that's what we are trying to investigate here. Now here, what is important is that we do need to normalize it by the number of kilometers or miles that we inspect. And we haven't done that yet, so that's why I say this is just the incident numbers. We need to normalize it and understand the trends better, because the mileage can change considerably. So these are some of the options that we will give you. Now, I want to show you also EGIG data. EGIG has been collecting data for many years, from 1970s. They have very good quality data. They have done great normalization. And because of that, you can see on the left-hand side here top, from 1970s to recent years, you see clear trends of performance improvement. But if you were to focus in on the last 20 years, about the last few years here, we will see that the trends might be changing and the dominance of different threats are emerging. Previously, external interference was the dominant threat, but now corrosion and ground movement are improving. However, as you can see here on this graph, the rates are much lower. This is why normalization is very important. They have done a normalization of per 1,000 kilometer year, which is a very useful way to look at data. And this is something that we will do in our data institute as well. So we are learning from all the different data sets in the world. We do have access to Australia and New Zealand data to some extent. We will collaborate with them to get more information, meaningful information. We have access to CER data. I'm not showing it to you here, but their rates are pretty low, but they are seeing an uptick here in corrosion, which they discussed at the JTM last year. And so these are aspects that we will look at in the Data Institute, in that category of incident and performance data analysis. So our objective in doing performance and safety data analytics is basically to give you the tools. We all need the tools to slice and dice meaningful data and do meaningful data analytics. You can see when it's all together, the data is all over. When you divide it up, you see the trends much better. We also want you to be able to see your data performance, your company data performance against, so we will enable you to do performance analytics against other company data, because PHMSA data has that information, so they can do it, and we will normalize it, help you to be able to compare performance rates so that you can learn from each other. We will also, of course, bring the international trends and learn and drive the R&D appropriately. And that is all I have for you.
Awesome. Thanks, Shahani. I appreciate that. That's a great segue back into the reminder about roadmaps. We've talked about the roadmap templates. They came out last year. We've sent, I think everybody now knows that they're available on Prime. We've sent the links, but if anyone is struggling to find the new roadmap templates, please reach out. But really, we're at pinnacle point here, the ideas and goals that we set out right now and prioritize really aim to make a difference to the future. We really have an opportunity to set the priorities and make big changes for the future with the goals and the plans that are built through these roadmaps. So I guess I'd like to encourage everybody going into the technical committee meetings, if you can carve out some time or set an additional meeting to talk about goal setting, looking to the future. With AI, it seems like there's unbelievably endless opportunities. And also back to Shahani's presentation, what is the data telling us? Where do we need to focus to make the biggest impact to enhancing safety and reliability of our systems? Let's incorporate those goals into our strategic roadmaps for 2027 and beyond, and build out that plan of the research that'll align to help to achieve those goals. We're all here to support the technical committees with the Data Institute, the data analytics Shahani's done. How can we support you? Just reach out and let us know. But really want to just encourage everyone to dedicate some time to doing that strategic goal setting, and then we'll get those ideas in through the summer for 2027 aligned to those goals. And yeah, if there's a need to advertise those strategic goals after you've set those out, let us know how we can support to get the word out, and cross-pollinate across the different technical committees. We are setting out a meeting for roadmap sharing in October in Calgary. So all of the technical committees will present to the other technical committees for show and tell. So do keep that in mind. Tom's helping me to set that up. So we're just in the planning stages of what that'll look like and what day that'll be on. But keep that in mind. And yeah, target October for sharing what you develop. And then that's all I had.
Oh, Jen, there's a question about how we would share the data. Chris Levy is asking that. And so Chris, we will use a Power BI tool that will give you the ability to look at the data yourself. And we will give different ways of slicing and dicing. How to slice and dice, of course, is, subjective. It's based on, what you think is useful. So we will have a preliminary set, but we will evolve according to the needs of the technical committees. You will tell us what will be useful for us. Every year we can improve it. I do believe every tool has to be continuously improved. So we will have a process to evolve that. But also, I do expect to have an annual publication to give general trends that we are seeing. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thanks, Shahani.
Oh, thanks, Chris. Were there any other questions? I'm not monitoring the chat. Was that it? Okay. John, over to you. Where did John go? Did we lose John? Studi? John?
Yep, I'm here.
Oh, there we go.
Hello, everyone. Just a quick update on the SRP process we discussed in March, and have put in place a process to receive applications for SRPs, applications to the RC, where the RC will review those, make sure they fit the new criteria, and then forward them on to the Executive Assembly if they do. So big date, as a reminder, is July 1st. That's when applications are due, and this is all working back from the EA meeting in the fall. So giving the EA enough time to review the materials, giving the RSC enough time to review and recommend, and then giving you all enough time to put together information. So July 1st, circle that date on your calendar if you're interested in applying. And you see here on the screen the numbers. These are kind of the big categories of information we're looking for. Important, how does it address our research objective? Necessary, why do we need to make a big investment in a short period of time? Achievable, what's the tangible goal you'll accomplish in 3 years? Ready, a list of roadmap projects beyond scoping. And supported, laying out your champion and your member company supporters and potential TC connections. So you'll see if you download the application, we're not looking for a lot of information. This isn't pages and pages of documentation. Really more paragraphs in each of these categories. So we want it to be concise, straightforward, and really on point. And if you have any questions, we are looking forward to helping, facilitating. We really want to facilitate getting these applications in good shape so that the EA can make a good judgment and your proposal gets the attention it deserves. So let us know, reach out to anyone on the RSC, Jen, or the like, and we can have further conversations offline. Any questions for today's purposes? Thanks, Satish. The target, the specific precise target is not set by the EA or the EB. So we've seen, ballpark figures of total spend, 30, 40, under 50%. We've advocated in that ballpark and that would be a percentage of the total research budget. We've advocated in that ballpark. We haven't wanted to set a fixed number in case we do have needs that warrant the funding, but funding this year and continuing years is in line with past years in that 30 to 40% range. Any other questions?
Oh, I think that's great. Thanks, John. That's excellent. So we
Great,
have
thank
just
you.
one. Yeah, good job. So one last slide here. I think everybody has now seen that I've sent out an email about the opportunity to collaborate with PHMSA. They've asked us to provide them with top priority research ideas. John gave me some insights to say that really what PHMSA is looking for from PRCI are just specific research projects that can be implemented within about a year. So we're not looking to give them a broad or long-term objective that they can, that's not going to fit with their funding model. So basically the ask is for each of the technical committees by the end of the week to come up with 1 to 2 research project ideas aligned to a clear goal. Gary was kind enough to do some analytics with AI to summarize what possible goals could be, leveraging all of the roadmaps and projects we've got. So he did an excellent job, and so that's making your life a bit easier. Corrosion has provided their feedback, so thanks for that. But I need to hear from a few of the other technical committees by the end of the week. The RSC will review it on Monday, and then we will provide them back to Alex to give to PHMSA. But I think this is a great alignment, and we're heading in the right direction for PHMSA to ask us for these ideas. So we're in sync and we're not duplicating efforts on things we've already done. Yeah, okay, that's the ask. Thank you. And so we talked, Gary, did you have anything else to add on your new role?
I'll just add some color. I'll say that, the more I dig into the tools, and I want to emphasize the tools perform quite differently. And by that, I mean Copilot versus Claude versus Grok, whatever. So some tools work better than others, but the capabilities of the tools are growing so fast. And I frankly, personally have been blown away about what they've been able to do relative to things that I've thrown at them, things that I thought would be really complicated from an engineering technical perspective. They've been able to handle, at least the tool I have. And I'll give a specific example that I pulled up the old PRCI NX19 report from, I think, the 60s, and said, here, can you recreate these tables that are in this NX19 report? The equations and everything are in the report. It did that, but it also found some errors in the published equations and discrepancies between what's in the table versus what the equations say, which says to me the original report had some fundamental errors. And not only that, but it was able to decipher where the errors likely resided in the equation, and there was a sign flip or something like that it found, backward calculated from the data, found where the issue was to match the tables. Now, which is correct, the equation or the tables? I don't know. Really doesn't matter. We've moved beyond NX19, but man, what an opportunity to really not only produce faster work, but higher quality work. So, and again, with caveats, it could go into the ditch too. It largely depends on who the driver is behind the seat and what the tools and processes and procedures they're using. But it's got huge potential. And I want to emphasize too that AI is not just large language model tools. That is one subset of 20 different subcategories. Bayesian networks and machine learning and all that other stuff. Quantum change. Expect a huge difference in what we can do going forward, not only from a research side, but from you as operators, as far as implementing these tools in your operations. It could be a significant game changer.
That's awesome. Thank you. That's wonderful. So if anyone has ideas within their technical committees, please reach out to Gary to facilitate or coordinate. Sorry, I'm kind of volunteering you, Gary, but I feel like it's a good idea because you're doing so many great things. So more to come on that. That's all I had, Tom. That sort of concludes, unless the RSC members have any other updates they wanted to share. Okay. Well, thank you on behalf of the RSC, and I hope the technical committee meetings go well. Tom, back to you.
Thank you, Jen. Back to you, Alex.
Yes, thank you, Jen. That was excellent. Thanks everybody on the RSC. And now we'll get a few updates on KT from Shahani.
Yes, here we are. So we need to sure. Okay. So if you don't know this, next year is going to be a really momentous year for PRCI. REX 2027 is in March, but it is our 75th anniversary, PRCI's 75th anniversary. So because of this, REX is going to be a great opportunity for you to present your wins, your research, all the wonderful work that all the TCs are doing. This will be an exceptional opportunity for you to share what has happened and what your aspirations are for the future as well. So it's going to be in March and it's going to be in Houston. Our theme is 75 years of research powering the new safety performance and a new era of safety and performance. We will announce the keynote closer to the event. We will have 63 papers. So as we did in 2026, we will have 4 tracks. And in the 4 tracks, we are hoping to have at least 50% PRCI content. Within the 75 years, we have done a lot of good work, and most of you have been with us for a long time and done all of this work. We are hoping that's at least 50% of the research. So I'll speak more to that and our targets in the next few slides. But we have included facilities and pipelines in 2026, and that was great. We included separate track for measurement, which was very successful. So please check your work and make sure that anything that is completed will be submitted and that you get your submissions in. Abstract. The call for abstract is open right now and it closes July 12th. And we also have a request out for reviewers. So please look, those are the two main messages that we want to give you today. Please put in your abstracts as well as volunteer your time as a reviewer. Now we do have 5 panels as we typically do at REX. 2 of them as we did in 2026, are report outs for the technical committees. One will be, of course, the pipelines, and the other will be on facilities technical committees, just as we did in 2026. So TC leaders, you will be asked again to present all the wonderful work you've done, as well as the future plans in those report out sessions. We will also have a special panel because of the 75th year anniversary, where at the moment we are calling it 75 years of impact on the pipeline industry, to show the journey we have gone through and all the great work and how it comes together, more of a larger arc presentation. And we will talk to a couple of you to collaborate and present that work as well. So the 3 main messages are here. Please get your abstracts in May 15th to July 12th. Now we encourage 2 types of research, the project-based abstracts as well as research in action. I think most of you have great examples because you have used PRCI research in some kind of way to implement in your companies. You have used it to justify actions. You have used it to bring regulatory requirements or to present to regulators. So you have great implementation stories. So make sure that you get those abstracts in. Those are the stories that we are looking for. So please get it in before the 12th. The topic areas that we have are these, which are the same as 2026. We mirror the technical committees in the first 8, and you can see I have put target numbers there. Gary and Tom have communicated, will communicate that to you in your technical committees as well. Those are the target numbers for each of the technical committees, so that we can reach that 50% target. So please try to hit that target or more. You can always add more. And I know you have great stories, so please give those stories. And this can be both the research in action and the project-based abstracts. Of course, we also have the emerging fields research. We have an SRP on risk, so you can present that work. And of course, data and AI, as you can see, PRCI is joining the leaders who are taking AI and making it, because the future belongs to the people who are going to use AI appropriately and prudently in our work. And we are leading that charge and making sure that you are well equipped to do that. So please consider any of those examples, and sometimes your abstract could be in many of these categories. We do allow you to have the abstract and choose all the areas that are relevant, and sometimes there are overlaps. So these are the areas that you will submit in. The high-level schedule is here. So we have 2 review processes. We will review the abstract. So May 15th to 12th, you will submit your abstract, and then mid-July to mid-August, we will review and give you an acceptance notifications by mid-September. And you will need to confirm whether you accept it and that you will present it in person by October 4th. And then we will start our review process of the presentation. As we did in 2026, we started this. There's a new process for us, for Rex, but it was highly successful because you worked with the moderators of the committees of the different sections of Rex and the tracks. And that improved the quality of the presentations greatly. And we got the feedback to say that it has improved a lot. So please work with us on getting those submissions in and the presentations in to review. And I'm giving you these timelines so that you can note it on your calendars so that you know, if you're going on vacation, whatever, you can plan accordingly.
Hey, there's a question.
Yeah, go ahead. I can't see the question, so if you can speak up, that's great.
Hand raised.
Shani, this is Mohsen. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, Shani, just a quick request. How to get involved in the planning committee for Rex 2027, especially I'm interested in some moderating a couple of those sessions. How to get involved, or is that already set? The committee is set already?
No, we haven't. So we haven't chosen the moderators, or we don't have a steering committee or organizing committee as such, but we do have moderators. If you would like to help being a moderator of a session, please contact me, and I will, work with you to get so last year what we did was we based on the abstracts that were received and the natural categorizations, we asked people in those areas to moderate it. But if you are interested in moderating, let me know and I will fit you in.
Okay, I will do. I mean, the natural one is the corrosion one. I want to make sure that we get the right, the right presentation of that in the corrosion piece. Yeah.
Right. And I did work with the PMs as well. So if, you can always work with the PMs, because if I don't know who's in that area, I will work with the PMs. So let your relevant PM and me know, and then we'll work with that.
Will do. Thank you.
So for the abstracts, we also have a review criteria that was published last time. Not everybody stuck to that, but this year when you submit the abstract, you will have to submit it in sections. You have to confirm, whether it is completed or not. You will have to give us different sections of what is the benefit, what are the case studies, clear learning outcomes and benefits, and of course, one major criteria is no sales and marketing. And that doesn't mean that you can't give a product that you have developed within your company. If you're a vendor, you can. However, you have to talk about the scientific merits of it and give the evidence and data and talk about its technical merits and not the commercial aspects. So please stick to those aspects. Know the criteria, so that last year some people were surprised because they were not accepted. But if that's why we published the criteria, so that you know how you're going to be how your abstract is going to be evaluated. So this work, when you go to the abstract submission, all this criteria is explained there, so you will have it when you do that. Now, TC leaders, I know many of you are leading your technical committees here in the plenary session. Please be prepared to do the report out. If you are not planning to attend Rex, or if you have some conflicts, please get somebody else who is leading in that area to do the report out, work with your PMs, and we will expect you to do a report out similar to 2026. but we will work with you to get those panels. Tom particularly worked last year as well, and I will work with Tom to do that. So again, as in 2026, you will talk about the committee objectives. You will talk about the significant wins and great projects you have done lately, and then also talk about your strategy or plan for the next 2 years or so. So with that, the last one I have is call for reviewers. Last year, you were great and many of you volunteered, but of course we can't use last year's list. We have, if you were a volunteer last year, you would have got an email saying, please do the same as you did last year and sign up. This is the QR code. Tom will send this presentation to you and you will have the QR code. So use that QR code and sign up again because we need to know that you are interested in doing it for this year. So, and sign up by July 12th again, because that's when the review window will start. Any questions from anyone?
Shahani, can you just go back to that QR code so everyone on this call, which is probably 113 people, could flash up? If you flash up that QR code, you're not sharing, but yeah.
Oh, is it? Oh, it's not sharing. Sorry.
If you were successful in getting 113 people signed up today,
that would be wonderful.
Here we go. Cool.
Yeah,
Great job.
really
Well,
appreciate your reviewing and, working with us with Rex last year. All of you did a super job and we've got lots of really good improvement in the quality of the presentations and abstracts, the work that was presented. So really appreciate that.
This year's PRCI Rex, Shahani, kudos to you and everyone that helped organize and presented. It was exceptional. This year was awesome.
Yeah, that's because all the technical leaders helped us with reviewing, moderating. It takes a team. Good.
Okay.
Everybody's signed up.
Yeah, I think we're good here. Any other final comments from anybody before we close out and say thank you for your time and wish you well in your TC meetings? All right. Well, thank you, Shahani. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Shahani. Thank you, everybody. We really appreciate all your work and your time. This research is making a huge impact in pipeline safety and operations. So please go forth, do your best research, and we will talk again soon. Take care.
Thanks, Alex. Thanks, Tom. Shahani.